This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, guys. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. How are you today? Oh, it's a beautiful fall day. What a great day yesterday outside. Had a few beers, watching some college football. Awesome day. Top 10 day. Well, about top 10 day. But it was a good day. We got a lot to talk about today, guys. Lots to talk about. Obviously, let me thank the groups right out of the gate. Guys, if I'm sharing this to your group later on today, you're going to have some good, relevant content. So don't forget that. I want to also thank my guest from Friday, Ed White. If you didn't check out the interview, it'll replay. I think tonight at 10 o'clock, I've got it set to replay. Plus, it's there on the TGI Sports Talk page. So please share it, like it. And it was a great interview. Ed's a great guy, great player, belongs in a Hall of Fame. Great offensive lineman for many, many years. Gone through a lot of stuff, him and his wife. And what a tremendous attitude he has. What a great interview we had. And check out his artwork at edwhitefootball.com. I think you'll find it. I think there's other ways to get there as well. Coming up this week on Friday, we'll have the great Major League pitcher Tommy John, former Yankee, Indian, White Sox, Dodgers, Angels, A's, Yankees again, pitched a lot of places, man. And obviously, I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday was the anniversary of the surgery Tommy John had, the Tommy John surgery. So he's the only baseball player that I'm aware of that has a surgery named after him. So trying to get my lighting right here, guys. You shall use some natural lighting. We'll do the best we can. So Tommy John will be on Friday, as I said. I'm going to record the interview Wednesday night. But Tommy John, a great pitcher, four-time All-Star, 288 wins, the most wins of any pitcher not in the Hall of Fame since turn of the century, the last turn of the century, 1900, by the way. So we look forward to that. Today, we got a lot to cover. We're going to cover the Major League Baseball races. Yankees are doing what they need to do in Boston. The Blue Jays are fading a little bit. We got the great race out west in the National League. The Giants were the first team to hit 100 wins, and they still are not close to wrapping up the division. Great race out there. You got the Cardinals winning 15 games in a row. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about all the college football stuff yesterday. Lots of big upsets, good games. I think we get a good reading on a couple of teams. We'll go through some of those scores and some conversation there. I want to talk in the NFL about Josh Gordon getting reinstated after being suspended 6 times now. Good grief, right? We're going to talk about, I think game day, I think ESPN's watching my show because I talked a lot about targeting on my show Wednesday night and how I dislike the rule. And, I like the spirit of the rule, but it's not being used correctly in my mind. So we'll talk about that and some other stuff as well. So lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to start with Major League Baseball, though. So let's see who's here this morning so far. Rick Sherlock's here. Good morning. Can't wait for Mark to make his picks. Mark Mancini will join us at 10:30, by the way. We'll talk about a couple of topics that I've already mentioned. We'll have our dead solid locks for today, and don't be surprised if. And Rick's going to be gaining a lot of weight on these Philly cheesesteaks. I think I said cheesecakes last week. Good morning, Kenny Gifford. Congratulations to your Notre Dame Fighting Irish on a big win yesterday. We'll jump into that in just a little while. I probably spend more time on college football today than I have in the last few weeks. I mean, I don't spend as much time because of the show on Wednesdays, but I still like to cover it here. And if we cover the same topics, we cover the same topics. But we're going to jump into Major League Baseball before we do anything. And I want to start with we're going to start with the Boston and Yankees series. Amazing. I really wish I could turn that fan off. Now I'm cold. The trials and tribulations. Yankees, I did a vlog on Friday, and I said the Yankees their playoffs started Friday night. They had to set the tone. Garrett Cole pitched well, right? What else? Some other, they got to a 7-0 lead. Stanton with a home run. Gleyber Torres played well. Lots of other stuff, really good stuff went the Yankees' way. Last night, or late yesterday afternoon, they get behind 2-0. They fight back. Torres played another good game. And they load the bases in the top of the 8th with 2 outs, and Stanton just hits a bomb. I know I've been very hard on all these guys all year long. And look at anybody who watches me. I mean, they understand. I want to be wrong about the Yankees. Now, when I'm talking about your teams, I want to be right. Kenny's too late at night in bed. Don't forget, Kenny, you can watch that college football. You can watch any of these shows. Just go to TGI Sports Talk. All the shows are there. There's shows there from last August, a year and a half ago. You guys can watch them. And then I started to schedule some of them for replays as well. Anyway, I've been hard on the Yankees. I've been hard on Stanton. I've been hard on Gleyber. I've been hard on Gary Sanchez. I don't want these guys to fail. I want to be wrong. Again, if I'm talking about your team, if I'm talking about the Red Sox, or if I'm talking about, whatever, if I make a prediction about the Minnesota Vikings, well, I want to be right because I don't have a vested interest. I don't like to be wrong on everything. When I talk about my teams and I'm upset, the Yankees, the Patriots, whatever, I want to be wrong. And the Yankees deserve the criticism that they've gotten up until now. And I'm still not sold that, they get to the playoffs, that things are just going to be all that rosy. So, but great start. Yankees need to have this one. The division's obviously gone. I just use that. I was looking for somebody to kind of come up with an example for. Well, if I predict something good for the Vikings, I want to be right too, Rick. I mean, I was concentrating on the negative because I've been so down on the Yankees all year long, and so down on Aaron Boone. And right now he's pushing the right buttons. Moving to Gleyber, which didn't have immediate impact. Now maybe it was a delayed impact, moving him back to second base. I'm happy that the Yankees have gotten to that point. I don't know how I keep getting on this damn page. They don't seem to want me to let me back to the standings page here. All right, so that's not helpful. Thank you, ESPN. Why can't you just give me what I want? Anyway, the Yankees now are pulled into a tie. There we go. Yankees have now pulled into a tie with Boston, and they're both 2 games ahead of the Blue Jays, who have just gone 5-5 in the last 10 games. So this game, 7 games left. 7 games left. Cole did his job and started and set the tone Friday night in Fenway. By the way, the Red Sox, good God. You notice they were gone, those yellow and blue uniforms that look like a girls' softball team. I have no idea why they think that's a good idea. I guess they won when they first wore them on Patriots Day in April, and the Major League Baseball gave them the permission to wear them whenever they want. And because it's honoring the Boston Marathon and stuff to do with that. And look, I'm sure there's a good reason, but they're awful. Awful, awful, awful. And you notice they were gone yesterday after Friday's massacre. Major League Baseball's also given them permission to wear them in the playoffs. I mean, they're just awful looking uniforms. I can't say enough. 7 games. It's over in 7 days. Next Sunday. And then we start the second season, which will go to November. Where else are we in the wild card race? The Mariners are still there, 3 games back. It was, again, 7 games to go. They got 3 teams to pass. Not going to happen. Athletics are probably done as well. In the National League, the wild card's over. The Cardinals have 15 games in a row the Cardinals have won. Franchise record. I counted them out. Everybody had counted them out a month ago. And right now they have a 5-game lead on the second wild card. The first wild card will come down to the Giants and the Dodgers, who are just having a tremendous battle out west. The Giants have got 101 wins. They now got a 2-game lead. But 101 wins, and you might need 107 to win the division. Oh gosh, I know. I didn't say there's anything wrong with girls wearing girls' softball uniforms. What can I say that's not going to offend somebody, right? I'll get Kenny's lawyer to get me out. Please snow everywhere inside. I'll say. Kenny wants a shorter season, apparently. So let's see I want to look at this Giants and Dodgers series here, or race. Sorry. No games left against each other, by the way, the Giants and Dodgers. Not great scheduling. I guess they probably thought the Giants weren't going to be any good, so they left no games for these teams to play in these last 7 games. But the Giants have only got, San Diego's not. They're at San Diego the last 3 games of the season. I'm sorry, at home they're against San Diego. And they've got Arizona and Colorado before that. I would say that's a pretty easy run for them. And the Dodgers, let's see what they got here. Let's take a quick look. Dodgers got a rough road here. They've got 1 more against Arizona, then 3 with San Diego, 3 with Milwaukee. And don't forget, San Diego's not necessarily out of this thing yet. I shouldn't say that. I mean, they're 5 games behind the Cardinals. They're probably done. So 101 wins, and you haven't even wrapped up your division. Pretty damn good race out there. The Giants, I cannot say enough. I waited all year for them to fade, and they haven't. Not even once. No, these are not Baltimore colors, dude. Does that look like an Oriole? The Flying Elvis. Can't get the right thing here. Sorry. Always pointing the wrong way on the camera. Orioles. God, if I was going to be a bandwagon jumper, I wouldn't jump downwards. Yeah, Padres are eliminated, Drew. I was looking at the wild card standings. Oh, right. It's the Reds that are it's the Phillies and the Reds that are 5 and 6 games back. My bad. By the way, Tingler for the Padres fired. He's not coming back. It's over for him. That team, to be where they were, to do all the moves that they made, the money that they spent in the offseason, and put together a pretty good pitching rotation. They got 2 great stars in Machado and Tatis, who now are at odds a little bit. There's problems on that team and in that clubhouse, and they're going to have a hard time coming back. So, yes, good morning, Drew, by the way. I didn't say good morning when Drew came in, but good morning, Drew. Padres out. So in the National League, I mean, you still got a race in the East. Braves are holding a 1.5 game lead over the Phillies. Mets, unbelievable. You're going to see some big changes. The Mets have it's unbelievable how badly they've imploded. There's going to be some big changes. I can feel it coming. Steve Cohen's going to want, he's going to be hiring a new president, who's going to be hiring a new general manager, who's probably going to want his own manager. So if you're a Met fan, I think you should get ready for some big changes. And they got some big decisions to make on some guys who did not have good years this year. Michael Conforto in line for a big contract this year. And are you going to give him a big contract now? Phillies and Cards are great stories. The Phillies, look at, I didn't give the Phillies a lot of credit. They had a good run to get to first place. I don't know, what was it, a month ago? I'm not a huge Joe Girardi fan, as you may have picked up listening to me. I think his teams play tight. People talk about what a great job he did in New York, but, he won a World Series. Joe Torre won a few more. I don't think he capitalized on the talent that he had in New York, but he won a lot of games. I just think his teams play tight in big situations, but the Phillies, are playing really well. They've won 5 in a row. The Braves have played more consistent baseball of late. It's going to be a nice race the last week, and the Cardinals. Again, I don't know if you were here, Drew, when I did the Open. I mean, the Cardinals, 15 games in a row, franchise record. They were written off. I wrote them off. A lot of people wrote them off. Their last title. Yes, the Yankees' last title. I remember very well. Again, the reason Brian Cashman, I think, should be gone. Yankees have been to one World Series in the last 18 years. One. And they won. But that's not good enough in New York. I'm sorry. This isn't Kansas City. Kansas City's been to more World Series. Gosh. Drew says Adam Wainwright. You know what? What Adam Wainwright has done has been remarkable. And he's had, he's not just 40 years old. He's had some major injuries in his career as well. So some great stories in baseball. Great weekend, week ahead of us here with that. Again, I cannot get over the fact that when I saw the number, the pop-up yesterday, the Giants were the first team to reach 100 wins. And at that time, I think they still had just a 1-game lead. I'm thinking they might need 108 wins to win the division. Well, now they might only need 106 or 7. Not doing math very well. I guess 106 would get them a tie at worst. That's too many. Who hasn't been? That's too many. Who hasn't been? Oh, the Orioles. Yeah. Okay, you can't be in New York. One title. Well, at least the Yankees. Sorry, Met fans. You guys go decades without World Series, but Yankee fans aren't used to that. We're spoiled. Yeah, we've had some droughts. This drought's not that good. And people go, oh, well, he makes the playoffs every year. This isn't, 30 years ago when there was 2 teams in each league making the playoffs. Jesus God, if you can't get in the playoffs now with 2 wild cards, and now they're going to expand the damn thing even more. Oh, you guys do make me laugh. Thank you. I don't know. Bad stories. There's going to be some. I'm just looking quickly. I mean, oh gosh. A couple other things too. The White Sox have not played well. They finally wrapped up their division the other night, but this team has played, I think, they may have played under 500 baseball the last couple of months. They have a losing record against teams with winning records. So the White Sox, and again, it could be just disinterest. I mean, they've had such a big lead for such a long time. Yeah, it's going to be a good free agent class for sure, especially shortstops. I don't know who else. I'd have to look at the list, Drew, and we'll certainly jump into that in the next coming weeks. But definitely a lot of shortstops available, and I was expecting Yankees to be heavily involved there. Yeah, I'm not happy about it, Kenny. Baseball is getting too much like hockey, and the NBA too, really. I mean, there's already enough teams making the damn playoffs. We don't need more. Forgot to change my banner. I don't have Billy here to help me out. Oh, God, where am I? Can't find it. I got too many banners. Guess we'll skip it for now. What other stories are there to talk about? Tigers, again, a good story for the year. Great job by A.J. Hinch, and that team may be ready to compete next year. Watch out for the Astros in the playoffs, guys. Everybody hates them. Everybody's going to want them to lose. They're going to be very tough out in the American League. Tampa Bay is going to have the home field advantage wrapped up. The other part of this story, if you weren't here, I talked about it earlier, Drew, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays still fighting over those playoff spots. I would say the Mariners and the A's are done. You're not going to pass, 2-3 teams. The key here, the key is the Yankees need to win. They need to be in the playoffs, right? And as I had said, their playoffs started Friday night. And they've done a great job the last 2 nights. They got to keep that momentum going because they're leaving Boston after tonight and they're going to Toronto. Saving graces, they're going to have to finish up with the Rays, and the Rays may be looking to line up their pitching rotation and, rest some guys. So the Yankees could get a break in those last 3 games, which would be beneficial to them for sure. Sal's good up-and-coming story if they ever get pitching. Agreed. They had a very up-and-down season this year, but I think they're a year ahead of where they thought they would be. I know their fans were up in arms when they traded their ace closer at the trading deadline, but they did a very good job this year moving forward. They do need more pitching. I will agree with Drew there. And remarkably, they're 15 games over 500, and they've been outscored by 65 runs this year. That's a pretty amazing stat when you think about it. They're 6 games behind the Astros, and the Astros are 206 runs on the positive. So I guess there's lots of ways to win baseball games. So some great stories in baseball, some great disappointments. I mean, the Mets, if you're a Met fan, Drew, you can't be feeling good. You can't be feeling good. Is Carlos here? I heard from Carlos. Last night I was texting with Carlos about some of the college games. Well, maybe he'll be here in a little bit. He was not happy. I think he sent me a message about what the T stands for. I don't know if I think Rick's joking about get rid of their coach. He's only been there for 3 weeks. Seattle should look at Cam Newton. Kenny's stepping in for Bill Pulver, it appears to be today. No, can't throw. By the way, Cam Newton, I'm sorry, it's a different topic, but he's going away. All right, baseball. What else you guys got? We talked about the NL West race. Unbelievable race between LA and San Francisco. Lots of fun. The wild card races are fun. The Yankees, I've tried to bury him a couple times. I wanted to be wrong. I've been hard on Stanton. And look at guys, you guys who message me, and some people do, and I'm fine. I like, and it's not you guys, my regulars, the Yankee fans. I post some of the negative vlogs too and whatnot. Again, I want to be wrong. I don't, just because Stanton's hot right now does not mean I'm wrong about Stanton, because I've always said he's a streaky player. Well, he's on a good streak at the right time. I heard where he carried us in the 2020 playoffs. Well, I don't care about 2020 to begin with. 60-game season, the Dodgers won the World Series. Yankees lost. What the Yankees win? What he carried them to? But right now he's playing well. Mets will win next year. I think they need to make some changes, though. I mean, don't you think, Drew? First of all, DeGrom's got to be healthy. Syndergaard's got to be healthy. And Syndergaard might get a cameo this week. But the Mets need to make some serious changes. And look, they got to also, start hiring better people for their front office. I mean, the tone that's set has not been good. Next won't win. Well, it will be fun to watch what goes on. I agree. They've got some big, big decisions to make, Drew. What are you going to do with Michael Conforto? Right? How are you going to improve that infield defense? And the outfield defense. I mean, the defense overall. The bullpen. Yeah, maybe we can do that, Drew. Let's see, next week. Yeah, maybe next week. I'll talk to you during the week, Drew. Maybe we'll bring you on and we'll do a spot with Mark, you and me, and we'll talk just about the playoffs upcoming. Hopefully by Sunday we know what's going on. If I wait after that, it's going to be too late. So we may have to with defense, just hit home runs, right? Well, that's the problem. Just hit home runs. By the way, let me circle back to the Yankees one more time. One thing I think has been huge for the Yankees this week, I think they got a huge two things. They got a huge emotional lift from Luis Severino returning. Plus, he's pitched very well. 2 shutout innings yesterday when they really needed it. So he's given them an emotional lift and a performance lift when they most needed it. Loaizaga, he's got some hope of pitching during the Blue Jays series. I'm not confident that's going to happen. And the biggest worry about the Yankees is the rest of the bullpen's been atrocious. Chapman, even last night, gives up a home run, comes in with I don't know, what do you have? I guess he had a 4-run lead. It gives up a home run, hits the next guy. Ugh. Conforto is one of those free agents that has not done himself favors. Yes, I agree. And if you're a Met fan, if it's not the Patriots, it's the Yankees. What do you want me to talk about? The Orioles? The Orioles are 100 games out of first place. We talk about the teams that matter right now. The Yankees matter. The Red Sox matter. The Blue Jays matter. The Dodgers and Giants matter. Mets don't matter, but I'm interested in what they're going to do. Oh my gosh, Drew! It's I won't spend a lot of time on that, but it's fun. Yeah, I'm down one category, 1 point, and I must have at least 6 or 7 that could go either way. So it's gonna be fun today. I'm excited. Having a lot of fun with that. So thank you for that shout out. What else in Major League Baseball? It's gonna be a fun week. We're going to spend some extra time on college football. So I'm making a note here. Drew, let me know if you're free for next Sunday. I think we will bring it. Maybe I'll bring you in, like I said, at 10:25 with Mark Mancini, and the 3 of us will have a Major League Baseball playoff conversation. I think it'll be interesting to do. Let's move on to college football. If you guys want to circle back to this, let me know if you got any further comments. But otherwise, I'm going to move on to college football. Let's just look at the scoreboard a little bit. I was dead on with a couple of things I said on my Wednesday show. And Kenny, as I said, if College Football Huddle is on live at 7 p.m. Kenny, Kenny's old and can't stay up that late. Kenny's cranky. He's getting no breakfast. But it is. You can watch it anytime, Kenny. Go to TGI Sports Talk. It's there. Just go watch the show. Go to the videos. Scroll down through the feed. You'll see it there. Or just go to the video tab, and it's there. As all every show I've ever done. Plus, I replay it. Just so you know, I do set it to replay at 12 o'clock on Friday p.m., noontime, and 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. So it replays on those days. Yesterday, let's start with, and I was all over. The biggest game of the day to me, there are two big games yesterday in my mind, was Notre Dame and Wisconsin. And we were going to find out a lot about Notre Dame and Wisconsin, and I think, in that game. And I said Thursday night, I liked Notre Dame. I bet Notre Dame yesterday. Just so you guys know, I'm not posting you here with my picks. When I did my promo for the show yesterday, I gave you my picks yesterday. Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Michigan State. Michigan State let me down. I'll give you my three best picks for today, too, and who I'll probably have my shekels on. Yeah, Georgia. We'll get to Georgia in a second. They did squeak by Vandy. Vandy should be embarrassed to even have a football program. I mean, James Franklin had him on the right path for a while, but as soon as he left, Derek Mason was the coach. They headed it right down the toilet. I'll touch on it quickly when I touch on the rest of the top 25, but let's talk about where was I? What was I talking about? Notre Dame was the first team I said, the 6.5-point underdog yesterday. Why? Neutral field. Wisconsin's had proved nothing, lost at home to Penn State. Why are they 6.5-point favorite yesterday? I love that odds. And then a very nip and tuck game turns into an absolute blowout for Notre Dame, 41-13. Jake Crone was a big story going into this game, being having transferred from Wisconsin, took Wisconsin to the 2019 Rose Bowl, gets hurt during this game, and it's very possible, as I think Kenny said yesterday, that you may have a new quarterback playing for Notre Dame. Pine's much more mobile behind a really bad offensive line. That offensive line is terrible. But Notre Dame did it with defense. I mean, they threw for 239 yards, but it was only an average like 6.5 a pass play. That's not a lot. Their rushing was atrocious. They didn't even average a yard. They averaged 0 yards a carry yesterday. 0. It had some good receiving. Kevin Austin played well at the wide receiver, and so did Michael Meyer. But their defense was really, really good. And I think Notre Dame is better than what I thought. A couple comments here from, yeah. Where's he from, Kenny? I really didn't pick that up yesterday from the Northeast. Let me see if I can click on him and get any information. New Canaan, Connecticut. Interesting. Drew Pine played very well. It's going to be interesting to see what Brian Kelly does here. And by the way, Brian Kelly did yesterday. Last week, I erroneously said he passed Newt Rockne. He did pass Newt Rockne yesterday. We talked about his legacy and what that really means. Is he's certainly not the best coach in Notre Dame history. And Brian Kelly had probably the best take on this when asked about it. He said, passing Rockne means I will have the most wins in Notre Dame history without a national championship. Good football coach. Notre Dame fans will never love him until he wins a championship, though. Notre Dame's defensive backs looked like Harrison Smith running back INTs. Well, they did a very good job yesterday. The Wisconsin passing game was pretty bad. As you said, 4 interceptions from Mertz, and just not a good two-time All-State quarterback, Drew Pine. Nice grab there, Kenny. Kenny did message me that, I think, during the game yesterday, that he was and I had that game on. I was also watching the SMU TCU game, which was very fun, by the way. I really enjoyed watching that game. SMU's good. We'll get to them in a little bit. The other big game yesterday, we can circle back here if there's more to say here. Let's see. Kenny's got something to say about Oh, gosh. Wrong mouse. He's never had a great quarterback. You never had a great quarterback. I agree. But again, that's on him, right? I mean, he's the he's the head coach. He's recruiting these guys and developing them. I like Ian Book. I think Ian Book was good enough to win a national championship if he was surrounded by better players. I was a big Ian Book fan. And I like Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's done a great job. I don't think, not winning a national championship is the end-all be-all of now we got a problem. So let's move on to the other big game of the day was Texas A&M and Arkansas. And again, 5.5-point dog was Arkansas in this game. It was technically a home game for them, but they played it at Jerry World in Arlington. Bad luck for Arkansas, but Arkansas jumped off to a 17-0 lead here. They battled. A&M tried to battle back and got it to 17-10, but that was the end of that. Arkansas's for real. That division, by the way, let me just get to. I want to look at the standings real quick. That division in the SEC is going to be really tough. You got Alabama, who I think is vulnerable, by the way. Arkansas, playing really good football. LSU, not so sure. They did win yesterday. Ole Miss, who's playing great. No league games yet. Auburn, lucky to get by Georgia Tech last week. And Texas A&M. Also, this is so much better, this West Division, than the East. It's unbelievable. I mean, you got Georgia and everybody else. Well, Georgia and Florida. And I do like Kentucky a little bit. But the rest of that division is horrendous. Texas A&M overrated. Well, they looked like it yesterday. And they got some quarterback problems. Their offense is not good. They got some quarterback problems. Jimbo Fisher's a great coach, but I loved Arkansas in this game yesterday. I would have loved them more if it was an actual home game. I don't think they would have been getting 5.5. It was actually played at home. Let's see. What else did we have yesterday? Let me go from the top now. We had Fresno State earlier in the week, Friday night, getting by UNLV barely. That was my lock, dead solid lock. They did win 38-30. They got a great offense. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired, though, if you're getting up 30 points at UNLV. Alabama rolls over Southern Miss as expected, wins by 49. Georgia, mentioned by Rick Sherlock. I'll get your Army comment in a second. Rick, just want to stay in the top 25 for a minute. Georgia rolls. The Georgia offense, which I was down on early in the season, is playing really, really well. And interesting, Stetson Bennett is back at quarterback. Is that going to last, Rick? If I'm not mistaken, he had the job last year and lost it. So it'll be interesting. Georgia's, again, they played Vanderbilt, who's just horrendous. Gosh. Oregon rolls over hapless Arizona, 41-19. Oklahoma squeaks by West Virginia. I said this was a spot to be careful for Oklahoma is not blowing anybody away. Their close win against Nebraska last week doesn't look as bad. And when you look at Nebraska playing Michigan State, very tough yesterday. Get to that in a second, too. Let me wait till I get down here. Iowa gets by Colorado State 24-14. Iowa's got a really good team, guys, because they're going to be tough in that Big Ten. Penn State should have won more than by 38-17 over Villanova, I'm going to say. Arkansas, I talked about the Clemson game. Rick's got a comment. No, I guess it was Kenny's got a comment. Happy Clemson loss. I love Dabo Swinney. He's not an overrated coach. He's a great coach, great recruiter. I don't know how you can say he's overrated. Good grief. Look at their record over the last 5 years. I know I've given Kenny a hard time. Maybe I should have had some breakfast this morning too. Dabo Swinney's a great coach, but I said Wednesday night this was going to be a tough spot, and Clemson had better be careful, because NC State's got a really good football team, and it played out exactly the way I thought it might. So, look he's a great coach, but let me see if I can find my damn. There we go. Where are we? Ohio State, 59-7. You can counter with me, Kenny, if you want. Tell me why he's a bad coach. Carlos Jr. If you don't like Dabo Swinney and Clemson, I'm okay with that, Kenny. That's great. That's like saying Nick Saban's a horrible coach and overrated. He's not. Who was the quarterback before and he sucked? He had he had Deshaun Watson, who was very good, and they went to a championship game with him and won a championship with him. And he won a championship with Trevor Lawrence. 5-year run. I mean, who besides Alabama has the kind of run Clemson's been on this last 5-6 years? Who? God, I'll come back, Kenny. Go ahead. Keep posting because I'll come back to you. Ohio State rolls as they should over Akron. Florida, Tennessee. Carlos was talking up Tennessee, and he sent me a message last night on Facebook. Let me see if I can find it quick here. He was watching a game. He sent me a note about a bunch of games, but his last note was, the T stands for trash. Fire the coach. Tennessee's in a tough spot. Tennessee will be okay. Right, but with who else? I mean, good grief. He's only... Oh, my God. I don't have an answer for that. Who isn't? Who doesn't suck without a great quarterback, Kenny? I mean, Brian Kelly hasn't won, we said. Again, I don't think Brian Kelly's a bad coach. I'm not a huge Nick Saban fan. He's never won without a quarterback either. Does that make him an overrated coach? Oh, it's okay. Nick Saban. What? Wait, who? McCarron played in the NFL. Tua plays in the NFL, was the first pick in the draft. I don't care whether you think he stinks or not. That's not the point. Mac Jones, first-round draft pick. Dabo. All right. Dabo Swinney stinks. Rick's trying to save you, Kenny. Look, you're entitled to your opinion. You certainly are. I think it's crazy, but you're entitled to your opinion. I think you're confusing. You don't like Dabo Swinney and Clemson for the fact that they're overrated. Maybe they were overrated this year coming into the season. I will not disagree with you, which is why I say we don't need top 25 polls in the preseason. After a couple of weeks, it's time to start rating these guys. Coming into the season, were they overrated as at number 2 or 3 or whichever poll you were looking at? Yes. I will not disagree with that even a little bit. Iowa State, one of my teams I liked early in the year, falls to 2-2, losing to Baylor 31-29. And again, Wednesday night, I said this would be a tough game for Iowa State. Baylor 3-0 at time, 4-0 now, playing much better. BYU, we're going to have a conversation Wednesday night. One of the conversations I'm going to have, and maybe I'll have this with Mark and debate a little bit, is who's the best group of five. Well, it's actually group of 6, I guess. if you count the independents. Who's the best team? Is it Cincinnati? Might be BYU. Now you got SMU creeping up there. It's going to be interesting. What's Kenny got going on here? He's trying to save me. Oh, I don't need to calm down. You open your eyes. See what's before you. Great coach on a great run who's now having a down year, one down year. You're funny, Kenny. Oh, gosh, where else am I going? Coastal Carolina rolls over UMass as they should. Coastal Carolina, another good year, 4-0. I haven't played anybody. Michigan Rutgers. I said Wednesday night, one of my don't be surprised ifs Wednesday night in college was don't be surprised if Rutgers was in a position, they were 20-point underdog. I said, don't be surprised if Rutgers has a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter. And they did. Now, you want to talk about overrated. Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. Well, then we'll talk about overrated. Michigan's, not done anywhere near what they were supposed to do or should be doing with since Harbaugh's been there. Now, and he hasn't had a quarterback. Whatever. Michigan State gets to 4-0 with a close one over Nebraska. Nebraska's starting to find an identity on offense, and Scott Frost might be starting to turn the corner. They gave Oklahoma fits a week ago. This is a very good Michigan State team that they took to the wire yesterday. They were actually tied with I think a minute 50 left, whatever. And Michigan State did pull out a 3-point victory here. North Carolina, again, overrated. 2-2, loses to what should be a bad Georgia Tech team who gave Clemson a tough time last week. They lose, not just lose, they got beat by 3 touchdowns. Sam Howell is falling quickly out of the Heisman conversation. Auburn just gets by Georgia State. By 10, the Georgia State head coach, who I don't have in front of me here, commented after the game that if it wasn't for SEC officials doing the game, Auburn would have got beaten. I'm a fan of not blaming officials for you losing games. You don't put yourself in a position to get screwed by referees. Referees make bad calls. Don't put yourself in a position to get hurt by them. UCLA bounces back nicely with a nice win at Stanford, 35-24. And then Oklahoma State beats Kansas State, as they probably should have at home. A look at some of the other FBS schools. I wanted to talk about, we'll get to it. I know Rick had put up a comment, and I'll put it up right now. I got to get back past Kenny's Clemson rant. I don't rant. I don't think I'm a lunatic, right? I think I start to rant only when necessary. Get me some breakfast, Kenny. All right, Appalachian State beats Marshall. That's a good win for them. Charlotte beats Carlos's dark horse this year. Middle Tennessee is now 1-3. Wake Forest. Watch out for Wake Forest. Nice win for Wake Forest at Virginia. This game was Friday night, I believe, as well. 37-17. Look, you go into Virginia. Bronco Mendenhall's, Virginia's not a football powerhouse, but they've been a solid team in the ACC more years than not. Bronco Mendenhall's a great coach. Nice win for Wake Forest here. And we're going to have Wednesday night, we'll have Larry Sorensen, the color analyst for Wake Forest, on to kind of recap that game and talk a little bit about the rest of the ACC. And you know what? Kenny, watch this show because I'll talk to him about Dabo, Sweeney, and Clemson, and we'll get his comments. Syracuse, a pretty sizable underdog at home to Liberty, actually beats Liberty, a good Liberty team, 24-21. So that's a nice win for Dino Barber and Babers and the Syracuse team. Let's see. We'll get to the Army game as soon as I see it come up here, Rick. Any other games I'm really interested in outside of the top 25? Why am I stuck on the top 25 again? Here we go. Boston College gets by Missouri. Missouri was favored at BC. I do not understand why. BC's got a really good football team, 4-0 now. Another team to watch out for at ACC. The ACC's wide open now, both divisions. Pittsburgh rolls. Mark Mancini. I had to kid him because he he picked Pittsburgh as his dead solid lock. I mean, we got to pick harder games than that as your dead solid lock. If Pittsburgh doesn't beat New Hampshire by 70, they shouldn't be playing. Virginia Tech gets by Richmond. Bowling Green beats Minnesota. Minnesota is disappointing to me. PJ Flesch is a great coach, but they are not performing up to standard here the last couple of years. Northwestern over Ohio. SMU, I talked about 4-0 in that AAC. Watch out, Cincinnati. This will be a great game when they play each other. 42-34, they beat TCU on the road. Texas just rolls over Texas Tech. This game wasn't even close from the start, and this wasn't a big spread on this game. So, big win for Texas. They needed it too. Don't care. Army. There's Army. They beat They beat a good MAC team in Miami of Ohio. They're 1-3, but again, the league's not bad. So Army, 4-0 again. I've said over and over again on this show, the college football show, Jeff Monken's a great coach. South Carolina thought about hiring him. Now, whether his approach would ever win in a Power 5 conference team, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, they play an offense that allows them to be competitive with less talent than a lot of teams that they play against, obviously. But Monken's a great coach. And I've said before, and I'll say it again here, that I think Army and the Air Force should be two teams that the AAC should consider bringing into that league once they lose Cincinnati and Houston to the Big 12. I just think putting all those armed forces teams together would be awesome. I'm going to get to your Harbaugh comment in a minute, Rick. Let me get through here. Susan, Boise State with a nice win over Utah State. Miami just kills Miami. The U finally gets a win, 69-0 over Central Connecticut, who I could probably walk on and play quarterback for after what I watched yesterday. Who else? Anybody else I care about? Purdue gets by Illinois. Maryland, I said, don't sleep on Maryland. They're 4-0 now with baby Tua. 37-16 over Kent State. UConn almost wins a game. UConn's horrendous. Gosh, let me tell you. I'm going to get to this comment in a minute, Rick, so let me put it up. San Diego State rolls. Louisville keeps Florida State tumbling. Norvell's going to have a hard time hanging on to his job there. Florida, there was an interesting story on ESPN. I'm going to talk a little more about ESPN in a second about why Miami has fallen from the ranks, and so is Florida State of powerhouses. And I think it's because they can't keep the kids in Florida at home in Florida. I'll get to your comment too in a second, Kenny. Kentucky beats South Carolina. Kentucky's 4-0. Navy continues to struggle. It's really sad to see Navy struggle. They lose 28-20. Air Force does win. I'd like to talk about the Armed Forces games. And the rest are the rest. Arizona State, that's Mark's team, Mark Mancini. They did win 35-13. USC loses at home to Oregon State. Just like, they've taken a Ferrari and drove it into a ditch at USC. It's sad what's going on with that program. Let's look at the comments you guys got here. Harbaugh had Kaepernick in the pros and got to the Super Bowl. Nothing since then in college. Harbaugh's overrated. I will give you that one. And and for the guys who want to stick up for Colin Kaepernick, if Colin Kaepernick could play, he'd be in the league. ACC, if those teams go in, Clemson loses 2 or 1 game every year to them. ACC, if those teams go to Clemson, are you talking about the AAC, Kenny? I'm a little confused by your comment there. Kenny agrees. UCLA did win. I think I touched on it. I thought I touched on that. Yeah, I did touch on that in the top 25 we were talking about. They went 35-24 with Stanford on the road. Stanford, well, I thought Stanford had a nice win at over USC, but maybe not so much. What else? So, Kenny, tell me, do explain this one, because I'm confused and I don't know whether to agree or disagree. ACC. Oh, Army and Air Force. Okay. I see. So Army and Air Force. If those 2 teams go in, Clemson loses. Not the ACC. I'm talking about the AAC. Army and Air Force are not going to the ACC. I'm talking about the AAC, the American. God, now I've lost the acronym. Might be the All-American Conference. I'm not sure exactly what they call themselves now. Sorry about that. But the team Cincinnati plays in, SMU plays in. They're losing 2 teams to the Big 12 in 3 years. And that's okay. I see Kenny says he misheard. It would be interesting. I want to see Army and Air Force. Air Force plays good football. They play in a decent conference. They've had a lot of good teams through the years. These teams are never going to compete for national championships, but they're fun to root for. They just are. One other thing I wanted to chat about on college football before we move on to the pros and get to our picks from last week and our picks for this week before Mark gets here. I talked about targeting. And I'm sure, Kenny, you'll have some comments on this potentially, and Rick, you too. I know, Rick, I know you had some comments when I talked about it Wednesday night. The whole targeting thing, it's interesting. And I think ESPN might be watching my show, because they had a show where they had a segment yesterday just on targeting. And they actually used the phrase that I used in one of my banners that said, sometimes it's just a football play. So they had one of the head of officials or rules, or I can't remember who it was, but they talked a lot about the whole rule and the spirit of the rule and changes that can be made. If a guy launches himself like a human missile, hits somebody in the head with the top of the crown of their helmet, then yes, targeting, throw that punk out of the game. But if you're just making a football play, and they actually referenced a play I did in the Penn State-Oregon game last week, where somebody's trying to hit a moving target at the 2-yard line as a guy's stretching out to get to the ball, the goal line. And my job on defense is to stop that guy. Well, he lowered his shoulder, and they call target. That's not targeting. That's just a football play. You've got to be able to, and again, you can't always judge intent. I get that, but you've got to factor intent into this. And they pretty much put up the same argument that I had put up on Wednesday, that, look, I'm all for player safety. I don't want guys tackling with the crown of their head. And if you're just launching yourself into somebody, hit them helmet to helmet, throw them out of the game. But if you're just making a football play, you're deciding too many games by throwing really good players out of games, sometimes on the first series of the game. They picked up a flag yesterday. I was surprised, Rick, to see during ESPN's report that in 240 some games, there had only been 60 targeting calls. And I must be thinking of, they make these calls and then they replay them forever, it seems, and they pick up a flag. So I'm probably thinking of all the ones I've seen flags thrown for, certainly a lot more than 60, and then they must pick up the flag. So again, I thought it was interesting that ESPN had kind of jumped on TGI Sports Talk College Football Huddle's bandwagon there. What else? I talked about Notre Dame and Jake Crone. Anyway, the whole targeting thing. Look at the rule. I get the rule, but it needs to be tweaked. It really needs to be tweaked. They just don't use in the spirit that it's intended, in my mind, and they need to kind of look at that. So, with that, we'll move on. If you have any more comments about Clemson, Kenny, you can feel free to bring them up. Let's move on to the NFL. First thing we'll do. Let me do our picks just so that I can get that out of the way. Let's review our picks from last week first, shall we? And then I'll give you my picks. All right. Got to get to the right page here. Okay, TGI Sports Talk. Let's talk sports. Too many freaking leagues here. Okay, I did figure out a way to look at last week's. Okay, so last week, get to week 2. It's this week already. I know that the game was played Thursday night this week, by the way. So last week we had Owls fans, who I'm not sure who that is. Hope you're with us today, and make sure you're following the TGI Sports Talk and invite your friends so you can be eligible for this $100 gift card. MJ10 was second with 8 wins. TGI Sports Talk had 8 wins. Finally had a good week. Shawshanks had 8 wins. Sunnydale Scoobies, which is Drew, had 7 wins. It's funny, it doesn't show me who the person is in this one. The Sports Nuffs Picks had 7. ESPN something or other had 7. Rick, I don't know which one of these is you anymore. The Yankees Slider Rangers Broncos Picks 70. Must have been an easy week. A lot of wins, a lot of 7s. Vikings 99. Maybe that must be Rick. He had 6. Poppy's Picks had 7. Blessed Bama Boy had 6. ESPN Fan had 6. Bring New York Teams Back 6. Brad Mitchell. We had a lot of guys drop out, not making picks. So anyway, let's look at the overall standings right now real quick. MJ10. Oh, that's Mark. That's my boy Mark Matheson, not Robert Shaw. They're neck and neck here with 19 wins. The 2 Marks, Mark Robert Shaw, Mark Matheson, 19 wins each. Good job. Ryan Lehrman has 18. Robert Salvable, 16. Guys, if I don't know you, make sure that you're following the show. Go to the group page, the show page, TGI Sports Talk. Make sure you're following it, and please invite your friends. I want to make you eligible for this $100 certificate, which I will not win. If I should win this by any stretch of the imagination, which is doubtful, the second place winner will get the card. Keith's at 15. Kenny's at 15. Carlos is at 14. Mark Mancini's at 14. Mike Cesar is at 13. Chuck McConnell's at 13. Mickey Delaney at 13. Then we got Rick, I think, who end up with missing a week with 7. Brian Mitchell, who missed a week now, is at 7. Aaron Schultz is at 6. James Frattoni is at 6. And then we got some guys that have kind of dropped out. Let's talk sports. My boy Dan Harris is not doing well, by the way, guys. He'll be back. I mean, we may do our show Friday, but say a little prayer for Dan. Dan's going through some tough times right now, and we hope he's getting better. He hasn't had his picks in a few weeks, unfortunately. So let's see. Any comments on what we got here? Rick's back to my I should, right? I mean, gosh, I don't, by the way, really think ESPN was watching my show, but it's interesting. This has happened. We had this conversation on some of the other Northeast streaming sports shows I've been on, and Mac McGrath has mentioned it on his show when I've been there, and it seems like we'll talk about things. And again, look, at everybody's talking about the same stuff, right? So I don't really put a lot of stock in that, but It is interesting. A lot of times we'll talk about something, the next day I'll see something somewhere. And Drew says, yep, the damn marks are hard to catch. They are. So let's go through this week's games. I'm going to give you my picks. And I'm also going to give you the picks of the 3 games that I'm going to wager. So without further ado, I probably won't go in perfect order here. I did have Carolina minus the 7.5 on Thursday night. So we're off to a good start there. Really good game by Sam Darnold. Christian McCaffrey goes out, which is going to hurt the Panthers going forward. This was also our pick in a $70,000 survivor pool. So we'll be rooting against a lot of big favorites today. I do like Washington, plus 8.5 over the Bills. I don't think they'll win the game, but I think they'll give the Bills a tougher time. The Washington defense is really good. I think Heineke, with a little more prep time, will be much better at quarterback than he's been so far. And I can see this team, giving the Bills at least a little bit of a battle and keeping it, within that 8.5 point spread. I like the Browns over the Bears, minus 7.5. You guys can feel free to comment, and I'll scoot back. I can't see the comments while I'm doing this because I've got this on my the same screen I have the broadcast studio view on. Maybe I'll go back after a couple of picks. So I like the Browns, minus the 7.5. Josh Fields in his first start going to Cleveland could be tough for them. We'll see. I like Josh Fields' potential. My problem here is the coach that he has got has already driven one potential franchise quarterback into the ground in Mitchell Trubisky, and I cannot believe still that they've given the keys to this team. The Ravens will visit Detroit, and I like Detroit plus the 9.5 here. I do not think they're a good football team, but I think that they can keep this game within that 9.5 point spread. Baltimore's banged up like crazy. Obviously, no running backs. Lamar Jackson is tough and can carry a team on his back, but the Ravens have had to do some traveling around the country here in the first 3 weeks. I'll skip back here, see if we got any comments here. Nothing. Okay, good. Back to this. Kansas City, I like over the Chargers. A lot of people like the Chargers to upset Kansas City here, but I will lay the 6.5. I just think the Chiefs will bounce back after a tough loss last week. I just don't see it happening. I mean, playing at home, it's a tough place to go play. The Chargers are really good and going to compete for a wild card spot, but I do not see them competing with Kansas City just yet for that division. The Patriots minus 2.5. I'm obviously going to take the Patriots here, and I'll give you a little bit of insight that I have on this game. I think Jameis Winston will have a tough time with Bill Belichick's defense, giving him a lot of different looks. Whether he'll throw a bunch of picks, I don't know, but I think they'll give him enough fits to keep them in check. Their running game, Patriots will give up some yards rushing, but they always have this bend but don't break defense. And I think Mac Jones, I think the Patriots are going to have a very hard time running the ball. And I think the Patriots will have to use James White, who actually leads the team in receptions and yards receiving out of the backfield. And they're going to need to use him and use that short passing game as their running game today. And I do think that they're going to have to take some shots down the field and try to stretch this defense out a little bit. They do. The Saints have a really good front seven, and they really stopped the running game well. And the Patriots may need to ask Mac Jones to do a little more. And this could be a good test to see where the Patriots are at this point in time. Look, Mac Jones is going to have bad games. He's played very well up until now. And did I miss the Indianapolis game? I'll go back. Thanks, Drew. I'll go back. Anyway, I think the Patriots, this is a good spot to see where they are. And I think you'll see Mac Jones asked to do a little bit more. And we'll see if he's capable of doing that. But I do like Tennessee, going back to the Tennessee-Indianapolis game, with Carson Wentz banged up. I like Tennessee here. Derrick Henry finally broke out in the second half last week. Tennessee's too good I think to lose this game at home with the Colts a little short. Although the Tennessee defense has been a little bit disappointing, especially in week 1 at home against Arizona. And the Colts have a really good running game. You got to have a threat in the passing game. Any other comments here? Other nice skip the game. Well, look who showed up. Hello, Billy Pulver. What state are you in now? Glad to see the Jets hand a win to the struggling. So it got nothing to do with the Patriots defense. It's the Jets handed the win to the struggling Belichick. He's not struggling. Where do you get struggling? Have you watched the games, Billy? They were in a position. They could be 2-0, but they made mistakes that cost them the game. Got a text here from Mark Mathewson. See what he's got to say. No, never mind. I did skip the Indianapolis game. I don't know why you're not in the. You're back home. Billy's back home. Welcome back, Billy. Go get in the pick'em. You'll never catch up now, but he's in a state of confusion. All right, back to my picks. Where did I leave off? Falcons and Giants. This is a tough game. Both teams are no good. Daniel Jones has been atrocious. The offensive line for the Giants is a mess. Somebody's got to win here. I'll take the Giants, and I'll lay the 3.5, even though I think the Giants' defense is good enough to stop, Matty Ice and that offense, who have not really been setting the world on fire here early. Pittsburgh, 4.5 over the Bengals. I'm going to have to take Pittsburgh. Although I was tempted to take the Bengals here. I will not do that. I will take Pittsburgh. And let's see what else we got here. Jacksonville not getting 7.5 at home against Arizona. Arizona's had to travel across the country a couple of times already, but I like Arizona here. It could be a spot where they don't cover, but I'm going to take them here. They'll win the game for sure. Arizona is one of my sleepers out west. Jets getting 10.5. Billy, you'll be very surprised to hear that I'm going to take. I got to get to something here, so bear with me. I am going to take the Jets plus the 10.5 here at Denver. I think the Jets will learn a little bit from last week. Zach Wilson will learn a little bit from last week and maybe not try to force balls the way he did. I'm not confident that Teddy Bridgewater is good enough to be, laying 10.5 points to anybody. He's a great story. I'm glad he's getting a chance here. But to be honest with you, I just don't think they're that good to be able to cover that 10.5 point spread. The Raiders playing really good football. The Dolphins visit them, and the Raiders are 4.5 point favorites. Miami's going to be without Tua for a while. Jacoby Brissett's a capable backup, but the Raiders are playing some really good football. Derek Carr's playing some of the best football of his career, and I like the Raiders in this game. Tampa Bay and the Rams, the marquee matchup of the week. I'm going to do something it's killed me ever since Tom Brady has left the Patriots. Every time I bet against him, he's won the game, including every game in the playoffs last year, including the Super Bowl. I bet against my boy, Tom Brady. Today I'm going to do it again. Don't know if it'll be one of my bets yet. I'll tell you in a couple of minutes. I'm still thinking about those 3 picks. The Vikings getting 1.5 at home. I've wavered back and forth on this game. I'm actually going to switch my pick right now. I had Seattle, and I'm switching this pick to Minnesota. I really like home dogs who are good, and especially ones that are desperate. And Minnesota's desperate for a win in this game. And I'm going to get back to your comments. We only got a couple more games to cover. The Packers at the 49ers, another good game. Tough, another tough week. If you're in a survivor pool, man, and you've already picked a couple of teams, this is going to be a tough week for you to make a pick, which is why I'm glad I'm home with Carolina, and we can root against a lot of teams today. 49ers are giving 3.5 to the Packers. I just like the way the 49ers are playing football. I like the way they're mixing Trey Lance in the game. And I like the 49ers to be able to win this game. And Monday night, the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Cowboys are -3.5. And I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I just do not have faith in the Eagles. I know they went on the road and won big at Atlanta, but that doesn't mean anything to me. They gave 49ers a fight at home last week, but only scored 11 points. Jalen Hurts, I think, leaves a lot to be desired as a NFL quarterback. Maybe he will bounce back. I'm not bounce back, but continue to improve. But I'm not so sure. Let's see what's going on here. Let me catch up on a few notes here. Say the confusion was the last one we saw. Watson, glad to see you missed me. Watt is out in Pittsburgh. Good call there, Drew. Watt is definitely out in Pittsburgh. I could switch off on that game, to be honest with you, but I doubt that I will. I'm just going to Pittsburgh. I'm not a huge Pittsburgh fan. I think Ben Roethlisberger is probably, close to the end. Obviously, he's like a statue back there. I just like the Steelers to bounce back today. 10.5 is ridiculous. I agree, which is why I'm all over your Jets today. The guy putting out the points knows the stuff we don't. Again, remember something about the points. And I know we've talked about this a couple times. When it comes to point spreads, it doesn't mean that the odds makers think that, Denver's 10.5 points better than the Jets, or the Patriots are 2.5 points better than the Saints. All they care about is getting money bet on both sides. That's how casinos make money. Take the Super Bowl, right? They get 100 million bet on one side and 100 million bet on another side. They make $10 million because of the vig. That's what they want. Yeah. Rick didn't talk me into it, but I just think the Vikings are desperate. And I hate taking Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's a good quarterback, but I also don't think the Seattle defense is as good as certainly not as good as they were in their heyday. But I think that with that running game in Minnesota, Dalvin Cook is the best running back in football for my money. I hope to break Rodgers. Nobody likes Rodgers, right? As long as Mark is not on the Vikings, I'm okay. Which Mark? Guys, my 3 picks. I'll give you quickly. There's a couple other topics, but we can get into them when Mark gets in the room too. Here's the games I think I'm going to bet today. Okay? And my lines are a little bit different that I'll be betting, so I could end up losing here. But anyway, I'll definitely be all over the Raiders most likely today at 4. Here it is. I'm taking the points with the Rams today against the Bucs. It's actually may depend on where I got to root in the survivor pool, to be honest with you. And I'm going to take the Cowboys over the Eagles on Monday night. Those are my 3 picks. Write them down. 2 for 3 yesterday. We're having a really good run in the cigar box, by the way, guys. Usually, Mark Mancini. Mark's having a tough time with his dead silent locks, right? Thanks, Drew. Good grief. Now that I'm almost done with the NFL, I'm going to move, right? It's not the one I want. NFL Week 3. Yeah, well, that's fine. We're going to start with the NFL with Mark anyway. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure that we will. We'll probably go back to college. But so anyway, I had a couple other things to talk about before Mark gets here. Number one thing I wanted to talk about with college, with the NFL, and I'd like your guys' opinion because I don't get it. And this guy played for my team and got suspended while he was there. Josh Gordon has been reinstated again. So he's been banned 6 times, and he's been brought back 6 times. Now, I understand guys have a problem, in the NFL, and I guess, teams in general don't want to take guys' livelihood away from them. But how many chances you give a guy, and do you trust this guy? By the way, I just saw Delvin Cook is unlikely for Sunday. I may change my pick back. Oh, my God. Anyway, do you give Josh Gordon another chance if you're any team in football? Mr. Raspy Voice, not to be mean, just a statement. Mr. Raspy Voice. Is that me? Oh, Mark Mancini. Yeah, Mark's. I don't know who that is calling me, so I'm not answering it. That's a good call. Tell the truth. Stafford is a better quarterback. It's not true. It's not even close to being true. Kenny, how do you even make that call? Oh, God. What are you going to tell me this time? How are we ranking you? I hope you mean now. And even now, I would debate that. Even though I'm betting him this week, and I like him to beat Tampa Bay, I don't think he's a better quarterback now or ever. Kenny will come back. Teams that don't care about chemistry and need a wide receiver will give Gordon a go. They will. That's what's unfortunate. Patriots tried. Patriots can't straighten you out. Nobody can straighten you out. I'm sorry. Call me a homer or whatever. But they've taken on a lot of problems in their career, and they more often than not they've worked out. Randy Moss worked out great. Corey Dillon worked out great. Ocho Cinco, not so much, but he wasn't awful. But Josh Gordon was a failure. Played well when he get on the field. I just don't know how many chances you give these guys. My ESPN is bleeding through. Not sure what that means, Bill. Just ask Sprewell. If you choke your coach, keep your job. Actually, he didn't keep the job he had. He didn't keep the job that he had. That's actually a good line, Kenny. It's going back in time a little bit. But he didn't keep the job he had. He got a new job. Just got to make sure I'm not missing something here. Because I didn't recognize that number. I'll make sure it's not a number. Hold on. Okay. Mark might have to call in. He's having some technical issues. So let me make sure I got my Bluetooth going here. We'll see that we can get him on here correctly. Bear with me a second, guys, while I make sure the right Bluetooth device is hooked up. It appears to be connecting. All right. I think we're going to be good for when Mark calls. Anyway, where was I, guys? Kenny laughing. Kenny took over Billy's role on the Sunday. Frank does a fine job. Somebody had to. Oh, gosh. Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's no fun if I just sit here and we agree all the time. I like it when you guys, I think we talked about this, right? I've talked to Carlos about this a lot. I like the fact he comes in and throws some crazy stuff at me. Because the show would be boring as hell if we didn't have a chance to kind of play off some of that stuff, right? What else did I want to talk about in the NFL? Mark's going to have to call in, so we'll wait for him. If you're watching, Mark, just call in. You'll be good. So, Kenny, thank you for picking up the mantle for Billy here this week anyway. I had something else I wanted to cover here in the NFL. Did our picks. Mark ought to be calling any second. Let's take a quick look at something here. Throw something at me, guys. Throw something at me. Are the Jets going to win a game, Billy? How about that? Kenny's going to get me. Keep me going here. Brady's the finest signal caller in my time, and that hurts. Well, there you go. He's a great player. Again, it's a lot of people hate him. I don't know why. But he is the greatest quarterback in our time, probably in football history. Sorry. Again, I know I do know that, football didn't start in 2001. I've been around a long time. So you can't fault him for that. So Mark called, and I hope he calls me back soon. Let me send him a quick note. Hold on. He probably doesn't know to call me back. My bad. Hopefully we'll be good here when Mark gets on. So Jets will struggle, but we'll win some games. Again, you know what I talked about? They did not need a new quarterback. Well, it's easy to say when your quarterback's 3-0. And I did say that, by the way, before the season. I thought they should keep Darnold, take the Devontae Smith. They could trade down and get him probably, because Devontae Smith is going to be a good question. Devontae Smith is going to be a generational player if he gets to play with a decent quarterback. But don't compare Sam Darnold's situation now with the Jets. Wilson's going to be a good quarterback. I'll come back to that in a second. Let me finish up here. Oh gosh, hold on. Jets will struggle with, and again, Billy, I don't know how much you've seen the show the last few weeks as you've been traveling the world and the country. But I said to Jets fans, you got to be careful. Don't judge this season on wins and losses or the quarterback's stats. Watch how he progresses. Watch how he learns from debacles like last week. Going to have those. Mac Jones is going to have a game like that. Although he's probably not going to have a chance to do that. They're not going to put him in a situation to do that. Who do I like better, the Patriots and the Yankees? Look, I'm still a baseball fan at heart. Football season is shorter and one game a week, and it's easier to kind of get, into your gear and go out and watch the games with your buddies and get more into each and every game than it is in baseball season. But I would call myself probably the equal on both. And I'm hard on the Patriots. I was hard on the Patriots last year. Yeah. Sam Darnold, by the way, I said Sam Darnold was going to flourish, had a chance. And again, it's only been 3 games. 2 of them against not real good teams in the Jets and the Texans. But I said Sam Darnold had a chance to flourish in that system down there because Joe Brady is a really good offensive coordinator and a good quarterback guru, and who turned Joe Burrow into from a vagabond in college football to the number 1 pick in the draft. The Yankees have a better long snapper. Oh, you guys are killing me. Welcome back, Billy. It's good to have somebody drinking early in the morning when I can't, Well, I hope Mark calls back. He's having some computer issues, apparently. Let's see what he sent me. I think I got something for him. No, that's still the same thing. Oh, gosh. Where are we? Man, I need something to talk about till Mark gets here. NFL. Let's talk a little bit about where we are after. Where are we? What surprises you guys after a couple of weeks in the NFL? You look at I'm surprised the Bills were as bad as they were against the Steelers, and I was surprised the Dolphins were as bad as they were against the Bills last week. Patriots are kind of doing what I thought they would do, up and down. Again, I think the Patriots will have some road. They could lose today. I think they'll win. I think it's a good barometer of where they are, but I thought they'd have some bumps in the road early in the season, and later on I think they'll get a wild card, and I think there will be a very tough out in the playoffs. AFC North, everybody's 1-1. I think the Browns will turn out to be the best team there, obviously, and I don't know that we've seen any surprises there yet. I think it just remains. I think that's going to be then the Bengals could surprise there. Who knows? It's possible that they will get there. The Panthers are looking good again. The competition hasn't been that great, but you are what your record says you are. Is that fat bastard? Fat. Yeah, all right, fat bastard. Bill Parcells said. But they're going to be McCaffrey going down is going to hurt them a lot. I like Matt Jones. Come on, he's a Bama recruit. You should like Mac Jones. There's nothing not to like. It's the pro game. Just luck of the draw. Players need to stay healthy. Well, that's all true. I don't know about luck of the draw. It's the luck of health. I mean, if you want to count that as health, some teams stay healthier than others. Look at when it comes to health. This is a good time to talk about this. And Drew's comment here. Let me put this up here. NFC West is a killer. All four of those teams could make the playoffs, Drew, in my mind. And I like Arizona. Arizona is a team that I liked in the beginning of the year when I kind of was doing some forecasting. I like Arizona, and I think Arizona. I predicted a rematch in the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay and Kansas City, and went with the chalk. But if there's going to be a team that surprises the NFC, I think Arizona could be it. Raiders are surprised how they're playing, yes. McCaffrey's fragile for sure. Great player, though. Dynamic player. Gets overused, but he's a dynamic player. You could see the air come out of Carolina Thursday night when he came out of the game. They held on to win, but you could see how different they were. I want to talk about Kenny's comment about injuries. You know, my problem with injuries in the NFL is the fact that there's so many to great players, and I think there's a reason for it. And part of it is, well, it's on the teams and it's on the players both because it's part of the collective bargaining agreement. It's what players want. There's less hitting, right? Once the season starts, these guys don't make contact in practice at all. Teams, you know, they hold players out in preseason games. They're their best players. They don't go full contact in drills in preseason enough. So when real games start and guys start taking licks, they don't have any kind of tolerance or I guess tolerance for those hits build up. And you see, and they don't have the instincts also slow down, right? You put because when you're going to get creamed, you know, smart quarterbacks, smart running backs, when they know they're going to get hit, they know how to protect themselves a little bit. But when you're not getting hit in practice, and again, these teams don't hit in practice once the season starts at all. And it's got to play into the injury factor in the NFL. Every week, the injury list is ridiculously long. Quick Draw likes the West. We all know this. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting distinction, though, Kenny, talking about McCaffrey, is a small equals fragile in a lot of cases, right? I mean, he's a strong guy. But again, I think it comes down to the fact that these guys don't play and get hit enough in practice. Well, again, part of it is, so there's two things here, right? It's what I just talked about, and it's also the way they get hit in games has changed. I think that's what Kenny's alluding to. I don't want to speak for him. But, you know, guys don't tackle. They launch themselves like missiles, right? So, you know, maybe it wouldn't matter if they were getting hit in practice if teams are just going to, you know, make themselves human missiles. Who else been a surprise? We talked about, I'm looking at the other divisions. The AFC South, Colts are a bit of a disappointment at 0-2. I thought they'd be better with Carson Wentz, but he can't stay healthy. Kenny and I are on the same page today. Oh, then there's somebody like Derrick Henry. You know, there's a guy who is better when he gets hit, the more he gets hit, right? I mean, he just took over that game in the second half against Seattle last week. Derrick Henry's a freak of nature. It reminds me a little, I guess not. I was going to say it reminds me a little Earl Campbell, but I guess I got a line. I guess I'd watch some film side by side to see if I really think that. Kenny, you've got to vote for NFL commissioner, so that's good. What else am I disappointed with here? Jacksonville's. I am not surprised that after a couple of weeks, Urban Meyer's already getting fed up. He told this guy lost, I think, 26 games or 30 games his entire college career. And he's got 2 losses already. He told who'd they play last week? I can't remember who they played now. But he told the opposing coaches that came off the field, he says it's like, playing Alabama every week. He's already gotten frustrated in a couple of cases with coaches. There's coaches that are frustrated with him and the way he attacks them and players like he's coaching in college. I thought he'd be a good fit in the pros, and I'm starting to have some chance. Kenny said he'll take the commissionership, but you'd get murdered within a month, somewhat like politics. I mean, literally murdered? I don't think anybody would actually take a hit on you, Kenny. I don't think. How about the AFC West? The Raiders are a big surprise. The Broncos are a big surprise at 2-0. Now, they play Jacksonville and the Giants, but again, 2-0. They'll probably go to 3-0 today. I don't think they'll cover that 10.5-point spread. But so again, you got the Raiders and the Broncos at the top of the division, and the Chiefs and the Chargers at the bottom. But again, 2 games in, it's only a 1-game lead. I still think, the Raiders might be better. But I've seen the Raiders. I've seen this movie. If you're a Raider fan, I've seen this movie before. Derek Carr plays well early in the season. Gruden's got his team playing on all cylinders. And then they have a second half fade. So we're going to have to see some more, I think, of the Raiders. The Broncos D is legitimate. I would agree with that. That's Fangio's, hope I said his name right. Gosh. Fangio's forte is defense, and that team should have a good defense. I just don't know if they got enough offense in the long haul to, to carry that defense any further than, 500 maybe. So we'll see, but that's a good call, Drew. Chiefs will be all right. People are talking about the Chiefs, and look at the Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC until proven differently. Patrick Mahomes, as long as Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback, they're going to be fine. They got to play some better defense, but again, they improved their offensive line. It's going to be a little work in progress with those guys getting on the same page, but we'll see what happens. Kenny, when I told him any more players are wanting to say and naming the team, get your pay cut by 10% each time. I don't know that the commissioner's actually got a lot of say in that, unless you're going to take over the players union and the league side in bargaining. I don't know that you're going to be able to get that across. The team, again, in the AFC West, San Diego is going to be good. I think San Diego is going to make a wild card run. Herbert is really good. They got some other weapons there. As their defense comes along, they'll be much better as well. And they're good. I think they'll give the Chiefs a good game today in Kansas City. But I do not think they'll win the game. The NFC East going about as you would think. Everybody's 1-1 except the Giants 1-2. It's probably going to take. You can't go 7-9 and win this. Well, you can't go 7-9 at all anyway. But I don't think you're going to go under 500 and win this division. But I don't think it's going to take more than 9 wins to win this. I don't expect the Eagles to win more than 5 games, though. I think Washington's the best team in the division because of their defense, as Drew talked about with the Broncos. And I do think they've got enough offense. If Heineke plays well, he's not giving that job back. So I still like then the Cowboys. Look, and I know everybody hates the Cowboys and wants to kind of crap on the Cowboys and Dak, but you know what? There's a lot of talent there, man. If they don't get it done this year, then guess what? McCarthy's gone. They just need a GM. The owners would be responsible for putting names, players in harm's way. Oh, I get you. Mike Williams finally used correctly with good call there, Drew, too. He has turned into a very, very efficient player. Signing off. Have fun. Kenny, you can't just cut out early when you're the commissioner of football, though. You have a great Sunday, buddy. I think we lost Mark. That's unfortunate. I wonder if I can call him. Let's see if we can call him. Maybe we can at least get our couple of things in here. And we'll see if I can hear him. I got him in my ear.
How are you, buddy?
Hey, I was buzzing you to call me back. Hope you guys can hear Mark. What's up? I couldn't hear you. I could hear your message that you were going to have to call in.
Yeah, I have to call in because the Spectrum thing is down. It's been down for a couple hours.
Oh, I got you. I couldn't hear that part.
Maybe in an hour or so.
That's fine.
That's the problem.
That's fine. I would have called you.
I hope he gets the message.
Yeah, I was buzzing you back because I did. Your name didn't come up. I think you called me from a different number than you usually call me from, right?
Well, I got my cell phone, and then they got this is my home line.
Oh, okay. Well, let's welcome Mark Mancini to our show. I know Rick has got a couple things he wants to chat with you about. He's going to be gaining a lot of weight because you now owe him 2 cheese steaks with your Notre Dame pick the other day.
You in Philadelphia is going to be sending cheesesteaks to Rick.
He thought you might be at he had a name. I can't remember what it was. It's too far back in the comments now. But he said you might be at this place getting his cheesesteaks sent out to him. I don't know. Was it Hamptons? Where was it, Rick? You said I don't remember where you said. Do you recognize that name at all?
That name sounds a little familiar. I'm trying to definitely recover from these college football games, man. I'll tell you, man.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I can't figure them out.
Real quick, because we've only got 20 or 19 minutes now today because I didn't call you back soon enough. My bad. I was waiting for you to call me. I should have just called you. I talked about it when I went through the college picks. I mean, I told you it's funny. If you remember, you took a no-brainer for your dead solid lock with Pittsburgh.
Right.
I almost lost mine with Fresno State. They didn't play well, but we both hit those. In my don't be surprised if I told you Rutgers would have a chance to win that game against Michigan in the fourth quarter. And in fact, they did. I mean, they were 20-point underdog and they had the ball with a chance to tie that game and send it to overtime in the fourth quarter.
Well, I'll tell you the one game that stood out, and it was a game changer, was the Wisconsin-Notre Dame, because that was a close game till Tyree broke that. And that turned that whole thing around. Wisconsin really never recovered from that, if you recall that one play.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching that game outside, enjoying some nice fall weather here in upstate New York and having a couple of adult beverages. And the game was tight. And I had somebody stop. My neighbor stopped over. And I got chatting with him, and I looked up, and all of a sudden the game went from like 13-10 to 35-10, and I was like, "What happened here?" While I was just talking for 5 minutes, so the game really got out of control. And I think we learned something about Notre Dame. There's no way Notre Dame should have been a 6.5-point dog in that game to Wisconsin anyway on a neutral field. The game got out of hand for Wisconsin, but I think we learned something about Notre Dame yesterday myself.
Well, that definitely was. And, Kelly, the winningest coach in Notre Dame history without a title behind him. So that albatross, he's going to have to do something with it. I don't think Notre Dame's going to win a championship anytime soon.
Go ahead.
When you look at Alabama, I can't find 3 other teams that compete in that Final Four. It just jockeys back and forth. It seems like every week, my friend.
It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting what happens. I mean, Georgia has solidified their spot at the top with another big win, and Alabama, but the rest could be a crapshoot, and anything could happen. I mean, Cincinnati, and we're going to talk. You and I are going to talk Wednesday night. One of our topics is going to be. Who's the best group of 6 who are the best, well, maybe we'll rank the top 5. Because Cincinnati's really good, but so's BYU. SMU is playing really well. There's some really good teams playing outside of the Power 5 conferences, and somebody could finally crash the party this year, to be honest with you.
Well, not only that, your team is kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what to get with UCLA.
Yeah.
I thought Stanford was going to come back in that game. From one week to another, you don't know. And I'm predicting Arizona State going into the Rose Bowl and beating UCLA this week.
Well, they got a win yesterday, so they got back on track pretty well. Anything else, Mark, that tickles your fancy from yesterday as a big takeaway?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I know, Texas, keep your eyes on that. Sarkisian's building something there. They got a high-powered offense. I mean, what they did with, Texas Tech is a steamroll, but still, I like the Longhorns. I really like what he's going to do there as far as getting these guys in there. Keep your eyes on the Longhorns down the stretch here.
Yeah, and if your comments are accurate, then that makes a team that I like in the SEC all that much better too. In Arkansas, who's now beaten Texas handily, and also handled Texas A&M fairly handily yesterday as well. I mean, it was a 7-point game, but they got ahead 17-0 in that game, and it was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah, and what's going on with Auburn?
Gosh, and it's funny. I saw a comment from the Georgia State, coach, saying if it wasn't for SEC officials, Auburn wouldn't have won the game.
Yeah, I got a good friend that broadcast their games there, and man, oh man, he was ecstatic. With Georgia State, anytime you can take one of those schools out and an Auburn or something, I know how the mighty have fallen, but unbelievably, they haven't recovered from the Penn State loss. Yeah,
I agree. Another game yesterday, and I think I had mentioned it. I think, again, I mentioned this Wednesday night. Clemson had to be careful going into North Carolina State, and they end up losing the game. The ACC, is wide open as well for anybody. You got BC playing well over there. You've got Pittsburgh's playing okay with a big win yesterday. You got North Carolina State playing well. You got and North Carolina's not playing well at all. Clemson's not playing well at all. Miami's not playing well at all. They did win yesterday, but against a horrible Central Connecticut team.
That game against Western Michigan, they would have went. They would have been 4-0. A couple more, and then they would have been heading into the ACC showdown. They would have been 6-0 heading into that. And, they got that hit cup, and they got it behind them now. Now they got to focus on the task at hand.
Well, we had a little debate, and I'll just give me a quick opinion. We had a little debate in the room this morning earlier about Dabo Swinney and Clemson being overrated. And I said, if you want to say they were overrated going into this season, fine. But to say Dabo Swinney and Clemson is overrated with what they've accomplished the last, 5, 6, 7 years, you can't say that.
No, and I don't think, and I think the other guy, there's another guy that gets thrown into this equation too, overrated, and just for the simple fact he hasn't beat Ohio State is Harbaugh. Harbaugh is another one. A lot of people say, a little overrated. Hey, look what he did in the NFL.
Yeah.
Look what he's trying to establish in college. It's hard for that transition, and we've seen college coaches go to the NFL, and they've kind of walked away from it. And case in point was Nick Saban. Yeah,
I won't. I'll be honest with you. I was on the other side of the Harbaugh thing. We may talk about this more on Wednesday night as well, right. When we got a little more time to dive into it. But I think Harbaugh and Michigan are overrated, and I think you saw it. That's why I said Rutgers would have a chance to win that game late, and they did. So they should have beat that. Michigan should be beating Rutgers by 30 points. They should be, but they're not. Right. So,
and not only that, when you look at some of these other squads there, that I still think when you look at it, is a surprise is what BYU's doing.
Again, another topic we'll dive into with that group of 5. BYU is playing really good football, and as I keep mentioning, they're in first place in the Pac-12 South.
Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, BYU could very well be the best of those group of 5 teams. I mean, I keep talking about Cincinnati. We all keep talking about Cincinnati, but BYU sneaking their way up those polls. So it's going to be very interesting now to see how, especially with yesterday's results, it's going to be interesting to see how that top 25 moves around a little bit. Let's move on a little bit, as again, we're a little short of time, but I want to touch quickly on the baseball races with you before we get to our locks and don't be surprised ifs in the NFL. What's your thoughts? I mean, we're coming into the final 7 games. I mentioned earlier, when I saw it pop up yesterday, the Giants were the first team to 100 wins, and now they got 101, and they're far from wrapping up the division yet. Well, they're closer today than they were yesterday, but it might take 105 or 106 wins to win this division still.
Shades of Atlanta and San Francisco years back, but I will tell you this: you got to keep your eyes. The talk in Los Angeles is kind of crazy. They're talking about dropping themselves into the wild card. Forget the concentration on winning the division. Get Urias and Bueller set, and then after we get out of the wild card, we can concentrate on the Giants. Are you kidding me?
Now with a team that's won 15 in a row.
15 in a row. St. Louis owns Los Angeles in the playoffs. And not only that, in a 1-game playoff, I don't care if Max Scherzer's throwing. I love him dearly. But Adam Wainwright owns Los Angeles as well. And I was talking this over in the Pirate podcast last week. Let me tell you, the Cardinals are a dangerous squad, and I thought they would win the division. They're not going to win the division, but they're going to do some damage in this wild card. And whoever drops there is definitely going home, and I think the Dodgers are going home. And this is going to be a huge, huge disappointment in Los Angeles, getting dropped in the wild card. This might open some eyes in Major League Baseball that we got to get rid of this 1-game playoff. I thought they should have got rid of it years ago when the Pirates were in it, but they need to get rid of it. They got 2 out of 3. Baseball needs to look at this and say, it's time to get rid of this 1-game and done thing.
Well, I don't want to disincentivize teams any more than we already have for winning divisions, and I think they ought to be rewarded for that myself. And I'm all right with that sudden death. You should have won the division and not got in there on a wild card. But if they expand the playoffs, it's not going to matter. They're going to play longer series. And,
if you attribute to the NFL, I think the Miami Dolphins, you'll never see that record broken because they've increased it. We saw what New England did. They came up short in the Super Bowl against the Giants. And now you're increasing another game. You're going to have 6,000-yard passers in the NFL here with these added games.
Agreed. Going back to the playoff race a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the American League wildcard race. I said in my vlog Friday, the Yankees playoffs started Friday night, and Garrett Cole had to go out there and set the tone. And actually, the offense set the tone for the team by scoring 7 runs in the first couple innings. And Garrett Cole just breezed through the Red Sox without his best stuff. And the Yankees, with a great emotional lift, I think, from Severino, not an emotional lift plus a performance lift, because he pitched 2 shutout innings yesterday that were huge to give them a chance. And obviously with Stanton's huge grand slam, another guy had been all over. The Yankees have put themselves in pretty good position now, tying for the first place in the wild card.
Well, yeah, that's where it looks like it's headed. The Blue Jays have slipped a little here, and now with the Red Sox and Yankees jockeying for position to see who's going to host that, wild card. Toronto's going to get entrapped here and entrapped in a hurry. And the only way they're going to get entrapped is they get the Yankees right after this, I believe.
They do.
So this is going to be, they got to stay within striking distance. It reminds me of the Phillies and Braves on the other side of the coin. If you're going head to head, you got to stay within striking distance, and hopefully you can sweep it. And that's the benefit of this thing. But, I'll tell you, it is a hell of a race in the American League East.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week in the National League and because you got the AL East race as well that's still undecided. So it's going to be a fun last 7 games. That's what Major League Baseball wants, and they've got those races to keep the interest here this last seven games, and I'm excited to see it.
The Giants, they're not going to lose 3 in a row here, so I think the Dodgers are going to be relegated to playing the Cardinals. And the only benefit that is Dodger fans going to get excited there and think we're going to be playing in their backyard. But I don't think the Cardinals care wherever the heck they're playing. They might have this thing up to 20 by the end of the week.
They might. You're right. Well, let's jump. It's we got only a few minutes left, so let's jump right to our NFL. What's our dead solid locks? And keep in mind, does not have to be a game. It could be just a player will do this or a defense will do this. So what is your first dead solid lock today?
Well, I think Tampa's coming into, L.A. and going to stop the Rams. I really do. I think when you look at Brady, he's on a roll now. He's thrown almost 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. I think he's going to shred that Ram defense. I know the Rams are talking, they're world beaters here, but who have you beat? You beat the Bears and you beat the Colts. So Tampa's lit it up. I think this is the first time Brady's playing in L.A. in his pretty much his career. So I like this. I really like, Tampa to come in there and do some damage.
By the way, Mark, Rick Sherlock's putting up a comment. You can't see it. He says, Mark, I need your picks so that I can contact my bookie.
He said, listen to the XM radio because they say whatever I pick, take the opposite.
So you gave me one. What's your other dead solid lock?
The other one is going to be the Cleveland Browns. I think the Browns just blitz Justin Fields and the Bears today. Justin Fields has started. See, this is the problem what I don't like about young quarterbacks. You got to call the clipboard for a couple games, maybe 6, maybe 10 games. I remember John Elway behind Steve DeBerg and all that. Then he came back that next year and he was starting to get his feet wet.
Yeah.
These kind of guys, there's so much money invested in them. They throw them out there, sink or swim. They give them a year, and then after a year, they're ready to jet them out of Chicago. I think Justin Fields is going to be in for a world of hurt today, especially with Garrett and, coming at him in that Cleveland defense. It's going to be interesting, but I got the Browns as a complete lock today.
Well, my 2 dead solid locks are this. The Patriots will force Jameis Winston into multiple interceptions. That's the deadlock number 1, and dead solid lock number 2. I'm going to say will be. I'm going to say the same thing about the Browns taking it to the Fields and the Bears. So I'm going to be with you on that one. So how about? Don't be surprised if this happens. What do you got there?
It's crazy, and maybe Rick and all the guys are listening to it. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Jacksonville catches Arizona today. It's a road game for Arizona, but they could be looking at the Rams next week. Don't be surprised if Jacksonville in a trap game beats Arizona. Interesting
pick there. What's your second?
The second one is I wouldn't be a bit surprised if San Francisco beats Green Bay. I know a lot of people are talking about Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, and looks like they've got their act together here. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if San Francisco makes it 3-0 and they beat the Green Bay Packers tonight.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't even know if I'd call that a surprise myself, but my surprises will be: don't be surprised when that Tom Brady outplays Matt Stafford today, but the Rams, as a home underdog, come away with a victory as number 1. Yes. Yeah. And by the way, my record of picking against Tom Brady is very, very bad. So I don't know how much weight I put in that. And my other surprise would be, I'm going to say, don't be surprised when the Jets cover the spread against Denver. I'm going to, again, I don't think they'll win the game, but 10.5 is way too much. So I'm going to say the Jets will be in the game in Denver today, and you'll see a much better performance out of Zach Wilson today than you saw last week.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. San Diego / LA. After that, coming up short with Dallas at the last minute, we'll find out. They're at the crossroads. They beat a Washington team and they came up short with a Dallas team. What kind of team is going to show up in Kansas City today?
Right. Well, I will say this. We had to rush through it a little bit, Mark, but I look forward to chatting with you Wednesday night on the College Football Huddle, and we'll dive into some of the things we chatted about quickly today. And I'll leave you with this. Rick said the name of the place is Campos in Philadelphia, I think. And he's already got a Grubhub order ready to be delivered to Amsterdam, New York.
Yeah, I gotta definitely take care of it. Philly's coming in a couple of weeks, October 14th. So that's going to be an interesting show, Liberty Bell Snack. But I tell you right now, I'm listening to the best show across all the networks is the TGI Sports Talk with you. Awesome.
Well, thank you for that plug, and I do appreciate that, and we're excited for the Philly show starting and all the other stuff. The Alcatraz guys I love having on. Cabby said he's coming on the show one day, so he says he can't get up that early, but all right, we got to jump, Mark. So thank you so much for coming in. Sorry about your technical difficulties, and we'll make sure that next week we get a chance. Well, Thursday night or Wednesday night we'll get a chance to dive into the college stuff a little more.
God bless you, brother. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you in the next couple of days.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mark Mancini from Mancini Media. Thank you so much for calling in, Mark. I know you had some difficulties. Internet can be a problem. So, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for participating. Kenny, thanks for taking Billy's place today. Friday, Tommy John. It's going to be a great interview with Tommy John. It'll be taped Wednesday. Wednesday, the College Football Huddle. Please be on. I'll talk to you next week about my vacation coming up and how we're going to try to cover the shows on that. So you guys have a great Sunday. Hope your teams do well. I'm out of here to go watch the Patriots kick some Saints butt. Have a great Sunday.